everyone, welcome to PommyInOz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. It does really help the channel out and we're smashing them out at the moment. So thank you so much for that. You can become a member of the channel, link is in the description to do that. So if it does float your boat, it helps the channel out. We sponsor people like Don McCoo, Carlton Football Club. We'll have some content coming up because we have got a sponsors meetup for that next week, and also the wonderful Shannon Gore at Preston Bullants, and we're a nice community, so if that floats your boat, please check it out. If you are returning PommyInOz though, good day to you. How are you doing? I hope we're all doing really well this wonderful Wednesday, and it's nice to do a Wednesday preview, is it not? So let's get into it. So obviously Carlton go up against Sydney Swans at the Marvel on the Friday night. Primetime footy returns for the Baggers, and it's a ripper, isn't it? Two sides that are in form, are in about the 8. Fairly evenly matched as well. I mean, you look at Sydney this year, they've had losses to the Dogs, Lions and the Swans, but they have beaten the Giants, Cats, Roos, Eagles, Hawks, Bombers. Not really a lot of A-grade names there, probably aside from the Cats who, you know, they travel like a toddler with a dicky stomach, don't they? Dogs, obviously Carlton have beaten them. Lions and the Suns, Carlton have lost to the Suns as well. We've obviously got one more win, one less loss, but we have lost to the Suns and Freo. Obviously away from home though, that is something to consider. But we have beaten Tigers, Dogs, GWS, Port, Hawks, Crows and Roos. So we've had a similar fixture run in. You would say though, I would say that about the times that we've played these sides, we've probably played the sides a little bit in a tougher area and won. So interesting little gambit there. But obviously, what about the Swans? What do they do well? Well, the Swans are a real heavy kick side. Very similar to GWS, that they have a tackle. They tackle hard, they bring the pressure, but it's a very direct game style. And when you've got players like Mills, and you've got players like Parker, who's in the picture, and Blakey, who's a top kicker, a very good kicker of the football. What you see is a very direct style of football from them, and it is kind of a staple for Horse. And you'll see this gentleman in the picture giving Shield a little bit of shit. He gets that ball out, and he looks to get it to his outsiders and looks to get a very direct game style, especially with players like Buddy who run very deep in that 60-metre arc. Imagine the 50-metre arc being the 60-metre arc. That is that problem area for Carlton. Carlton, though, on the other hand, are a better contested side, or a better side around the ball, and also bring that tackle intensity, and have shown this year they really enjoy it. What has traditionally hurt Sydney, though, is that run and carry. That has been really kind of a standout in the games that they've lost, particularly against the Doggies, that getting the handball run, breaking them lines, and something that Carlton did tremendously well against GWS last week was being able to ride the tackle, take the contact, enabling to draw another player, get that handball off and get it moving. So in the terms of styles make fights, this is a big one for Carlton because the style does make the fight. And when we get onto the team selection, I will talk it. I do want to talk a little bit about Marvel, and I think Carlton played Marvel very well under Voss. And the reason is it's roughly about, if you depending on what you read, it's about 10 metres not as wide, narrower. And I think that really helps Carlton because this game here will be condensed. And if you can use the outside run, and you look at teams that traditionally favour Marvel, Doggies come to mind, St Kilda come to mind as well. Their spread is impeccable. Their way of getting it from contest to finding pockets of space. And it's kind of not talked about, but O'Brien is someone who is tremendous about this, and this may be the game that you see Carlton bring in someone like Dow, and I don't think they'll go very tall in this game. I think that they'll look for that run and carry, and I think they'll look to continue what they saw last week. We saw Motlop and Durden work that ground, and that imaginary 60-metre arc we talk about, they work that a lot, really looking to be the conduit from transition. Carlton's transition turnover scores have almost made up 50% in the last 3 weeks since everyone's complained about it. So it is something that we've started to see another layer of, and definitely a way that Carlton will look to hurt the Swans. Selection then. Well, obviously Sydney, they've got a force change. Rowbottom, he has gone down. And this is going to be an interesting one. I do expect them to bring O'Riordan in for this one, the defender. I think that they will look at that Motlop, that looking at that transition, and that's something that he's very adept about. It gives them a rotation as well, because we know that Blakey, Lloyd, they like to rotate off that half-back and get into the midfield, along with players, you know, like your Callum Mills, who does slot down there at times as well. It gives them options, and I think it gives them that added option. You'd imagine the McCartan twins, they're going to be having their hands full like GWS, and we saw Curnow, the way he presented was phenomenal, and he really did show and surprise a lot of people, not me because he's my boy, but how he can take them on. For Carlton, I expect to see here Brodie Kemp actually drop out of this for Lewis Young. And against my better judgment, I think this is the game for Dow. And I'll tell you for why. I think Carlton will look at run and carry hurts them. And I think that that midfield and that back line really did stand out against GWS. When you look at the forward line here, their talls, you're looking at Logan McDonald and Franklin. They play that duo of Laddams and Hickey, which can be a problem. But I think they'll back themselves in to deal with that because Carlton focus more on the source than the areas. And it's really important that you really focus on this. Why Carlton puts so much onus on the midfield pressure. Because literally 90% of the ways you score come from control in the midfield. If you can control it, you can pretty much stop wherever that ball going. And especially with them being such a kick-heavy side, I could see Carlton bringing in an extra midfielder, knowing that there is going to be a lot of opportunity to really get them intercepts higher up the ground. I'm looking at Doc, I'm looking at Sard, I'm looking at Plowman, really there to really look to bring that where you see that they don't do the traditional intercept. They spoil it mid-air, get it to ground and get the ball going. Young coming in as well allows TDK to rest a bit more forward, which we saw in the second half. Him and Cripper really did. Him and Cripper and JSOS really allowed TDK to float a bit more. So there are the projected changes, I think. And the changes I would probably make as well, because I think Owens deserves another chance. I know he's come a bit slack. I did pander that suggestion and I said I didn't want to do it. But just looking at the makeup, looking at what the fixture's going to be, I think that's the go for me. Dow comes in and brings a little bit of run and carry in a game that really, even though his disposal has been questioned in VFL, I don't think it matters. I think that I liked what Carlton did last week of getting the ball in quickly, and that is something Dow brings. It's something you've got to do to these guys, because that is something that they are one of the least tackled against sides in the comp, but when the tackles do come, they come unstuck. It is a very, very kick to space, gain territory, get the ball going direct. Carlton will really back themselves in with Motlop, Durden, and Owens, that the pressure they can bring is elite. And I do think Jack Carroll deserves another chance. He's come under a lot of stick this week. However, you watch his off-the-ball work, it was impeccable at all times. So he could be at risk. I could see him coming out for Dow. But I think they'll go Kemp and Williams out, forced omission, and Young and Dow in. And I really do think that that could cause a problem. Keys to winning then. For Carlton, really it is getting that pressure up there, getting the recycled inside 50s and really working that little narrower ground with that handball change that we're really starting to see and looking to enact pressure. We know Sydney are going to kick. So for Carlton there, they know that they played that two-lined forward pattern, which we saw in defence last week, and it really worked because we funneled the play into the areas we want, which is good because Sydney like to do that. They like to use the corridor, and at Marvel, teams that do traditionally do. So where Carlton want to go is flood that corridor, flood one side of the wing, get it going to the other channel, forcing Mills to make that switch and Blakey to make that switch to the flank that is open, which then makes them kick against their natural kicking style into the corridor. And that is what Carlton have done impeccably well in the last 2 weeks, getting kicks to go across their body into the risky areas and into the hot zones for Carlton to turn over. And that is why I think Dow comes in, because I think when that ball's on the deck and you can get that handball to him, that's another layer of threat. We did see Walsh and Cheragos to a lot of the wing and play across half-back to help them out as well. I expect to see that again, to get them good ball users finding that corridor in transition. The keys to winning for Sydney is do what they do. Tackle hard, play the territory game, look for them kicks and try and avoid that contested work at all costs. Carlton won't mind looking for these stoppages because they know they can hurt them there on their ability to overlap and hit it. It's a key to winning for Carlton and it's a key for Sydney as well. That midfield and who can control and impact their style is king in this game. And to be honest, I think Carlton will look at the way they're playing and say they've got the tools to do the job. What will happen if? Well, I think if Mills and Parker get that combination going with Blakey and McInerney, Carlton are in trouble. I think that's a really important thing. I think Whittaker on Mr. Buddy is perfect because it allows us to do what we've seen quite a lot when Young and Whittaker have played together, but they play really high up the ground, almost in a straight line. And I reckon Young will go to that higher centre-half forward point when we have the ball, and Whittaker will live in the goal square protecting him. And what that has done is really given Buddy that deeper forward who is looking to drop deep and really impact play options in what does he do. If he stays deep waiting for the ball, he's got Whittaker who's a very good player, and he's got Young, that real strong spoiling type, big body. Hasn't got the pace probably of Whittaker, and that's why they play in that formation. And I expect to see the return of TDK and Doc working as a tandem in that defence wing protection, which then allows Nooms to really float around. And that's something that them three do a lot on transition. So Carlton have got to watch that flank, especially where Blakey is, where Parker and Mills look to attack it out wide before they intersect in. But what will happen if they can't stop our midfield? Carlton are a death by 1,000 cuts with their inside 50 entry, and that is imperative at the moment for them and what they have to do. They have to stop that entry because Carlton recycle them entries very efficiently. The way Curnow challenges for the ball all game long is really integral for us. So if they can't stop that midfield chain, there's no way Sydney can win this. And Carlton will be very confident with Hewitt, Cripps, Chera, Walsh, and that extra rotation now with my suggestion of bringing Dow in, that they can be fresh and hunky-dory. And I think here that if they can't stop that, they haven't got the defence. The McCartan guys, they can't stop Curnow. They can't. Taylor and Keith were that perfect combination for him, but Curnow kept going. And that is something there. And I do think now with Young there taking a bit more of the rug time, it allows Carlton to be really offensive with Cripper, JSOS and TDK. And a combination of two of them with Curnow. We saw what happened in the third quarter. It opens Carlton up. Carlton can control this game, and that is important. If Carlton can get some control of the footy and how it's moved in the tempo of the game, they win this. And my prediction here is Carlton by 21. I think Carlton will make a statement win here and go into next week really flying high. Let me know what you guys and girls think. As always, I love your comments. Your comments are brilliant, and the support has been much needed this week. I really appreciate it. Check out the quackingcauldron.com.au as well for all your spirituality needs, your witchcraft needs if you're into that, your crystals and things like that. There's some really interesting things. And until next time, I'll see you Friday with the suggestion by Tim Blue Irons, Mr. Tim. He really wanted to see a video on doing the tier that we did at the start of the year and seeing how the B graders have progressed. So stay tuned for that. See you tonight on Thursday's Team News. We can see if Pom was right and Dowie's in. Have a great working week. Much love. Pom out.